Look at what I found this year. It is so cool. And each one of these heads tell a story. They absolutely tell a story. The deer seasons are closed and I'm a hunter. I just love hunting for stuff, and I also, if anybody can tell that's watched bull shooters, I love weaponry. I just love all type. And if you can kill something or somebody with it, I'm interested, and most hunters are too. So today, it's a perfect day to hunt for arrowheads, or points as they call them. I happen to have who I consider an expert here, although Travis is very modest and he just says he's an amateur point seeker, which you are. So today we're going to be doing amateur surface hunting, which means we're not going to be excavating, we're not going to be digging, we're just going to be looking for points for arrowheads. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
The theory is, you can just go out in your yard or anywhere and look for points, but we're trying to maximize our odds. So we're trying to find places where Native Americans and ancient man, might have camped. Is that true?
Yep, that's true. And so the key to our success is bare ground, because you can't see what you can't see.
Okay.
And so we're looking for places like this has been plowed here at some point and it's still a little bit bare, so we'll be able to see flakes exposed on the ground, and then we'll get down in here closer to the creek where there's some erosion that has happened, and that's ideal.
Okay, so erosion, just because that gets you a little bit closer to, it saves you work?
Well, it's cut through the topsoil, through the modern buildup of soil that's going to cover up all the points that were dropped or lost or laid down, thousands of years ago. And so the erosion is going to cut us down back to that level and expose the points again. At least 16,000 years ago, prehistoric man inhabited North America, and there's evidence of points that were found in context with datable material that date it older than 10,000 years throughout North America.
Okay.
In this area, we have known outcrops of source material that ancient man preferred to use to make the arrowheads.
What is that source material?
Well, it's a chert. It's a high quality rock that has a conchoidal fracture in it, so when you strike it in a particular way, it'll knock off flat flakes, and if you know what you're doing, you can create a nice arrowhead out of that.
Show us a few of these that you brought, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. Here's a collection of points that came from the area.
Look at that beauty.
And yeah, this is a nice one here.
I mean, that's like the Rage expandable of ancient broadheads.
Very thin, yeah, that's ready to be tied on. I don't have it here in this box, but I've found a point that the natives were using at the time of European contact, found in the area. It's called a Arrowhead knife, and so it could be as little as 600 years old, but then, like I said, we found plain view points that are dated to over 10,000 years old, and these points in between here probably represent possibly, that entire expanse of time.
This is just fascinating. And what I always want to know is, like, did this arrowhead, somebody just died or lost it, or if it was an animal that was missed or it whistled through? You got to think this probably wasn't used, right?
Well,
to kill an animal.
Well, that's a good question, man. That's something I think about every time I pick one up. What is the history of this thing? And that's just what is so fascinating and just keeps me coming back for more, is just the thought of to be the first one that has touched that, when you find it on the ground, that first human that's touched that in 5,000 years.
I've got a million questions, but at some point we're burning daylight. We've got to get to hunting. But to be clear, this is, people might wonder, this is private property, so you're allowed to hunt for arrowheads. This is a buddy's in western Oklahoma, his feeder, and he said that he was plowing this and found some chippings, and so that's what kind of turned me onto it. And then when you heard that it had a spring-fed creek and all, you sounded excited. So Jones is pumped up. I don't know if he can find them or not. Jones, you ready to go get some arrowheads? Let's go find some arrowheads. So in just about an hour of hunting out here, where we suspected might be a good place based on a hunter farmer's tip. Look at all this stuff. Now, I have not found an actual point yet, but we're close. My buddy indicates that these are, what are they called, bifaces, that have been worked. And so, you know, you start finding these chips, then you start finding these, you know, all of these things have been worked by an ancient man. So I've been out here for an hour, haven't had any luck on an arrowhead, but I mean, I feel like I'm pretty darn hot, wouldn't you say? Getting warm or hot?
You're definitely getting hot.
So we're getting hot, so it's just fascinating just to know that ancient men were out here hunting, you know, just like we were, with just a little bit more primitive tools. Well, I may not have found a point from 10,000 years ago, but I did find this very fine set of roller skate wheels. Look like children, circa 1930 or so. Even more interesting, a piece of petrified wood. But still, the quest for arrowheads continues. Oh man, it would be beautiful. So, I've learned so much in these last several months since I started looking for arrowheads and really got serious about it, more serious about it, and kind of learned from people on how to do it. Look at that. So this is crazy, you just get rewarded. It's almost like fly casting. You know, you go out there and flail the water, but when you finally make that perfect cast, or in this case, start looking in places that make sense, where there are clues. So you can tell if things are arrowheads, whether they've been worked by humans, if both sides, you know, have been worked. So you can tell both sides that's an edge. So that was either a spear point in the start of an arrowhead, most likely a spear point that's just broken off. So not a full arrowhead, but that's awesome. I finally got something on camera, but I've just learned so much. The reason I started looking here, twofold. This is it's flooded now, but this is a major spring-fed creek that's been spring-fed for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of years. So you know, ancient men sought out water. This is the high ground, and it's perfect because now this thing is flooded. I know exactly where the high ground is, and this is where Native Americans and ancient men would put their camps. So they always have water, but yet they're out of the water if it floods. So then the second factor you need to do is find pieces of flint. Around here in my neck of the woods called chert. Once you start finding this chert, then you start finding all these flakings, which means it was a camp. People were building arrowheads, and so rather than just looking around randomly at the ground or in a creek bed, if you can find places where these flakings are, your odds go drastically up. So I started finding these flakings right here on this little plateau that would make it logically a good camp, and I know this because I've killed deer right here. It's a great spot. Animals don't change. So I finally found a point, and now that I found this point, I will find others right here. It's just the way it goes. You're increasing your odds. So I've had so much fun with this project and this video, and I'm totally into it. So is my family. Even my one-year-old kid goes out and plays in the dirt. My wife likes it. Jones, you like it? Yeah, he loves it. Anyway, I have found some arrowheads this year. I didn't get them on video. I've got some cell phone versions of them, but look at what I found this year. It is so cool, and each one of these heads tell a story. They absolutely tell a story, and then you can figure out, you know, different time zones based on the size, the design, the artist and hunter who made them. You can go in and find books, go to your public library, or of course you can download or look at some of these books online, but you can figure out what era they came from, and even based on your part of the country, part of the world, the time frame and the tribes that used them, or the people that used them, based on technology. It is just so cool, the kinds of stones. I happen to be in Oklahoma, in a place where there is a lot of natural called chert that arrowheads were made from. People around here traded chert to other tribes, and of course it got all over the country, and there's a lot of it, of course, spread throughout the United States. But some of the heads that I've found recently, just in the last couple months since I started looking, there's the top of a spear point. There's a pretty cool little point. Look at that pink. That's probably my favorite one so far. If you think about it, ancient man goes back, 15,000 years. There are, millions of these people and camp over camp, layer on layer builds up, and it's, even if they built one arrowhead a day and they had to survive, they had to kill animals all the time, all these people, one arrowhead a day, they made these things in 15 minutes, and each one of these arrowheads takes 300 to 600 flakings. You multiply that, you know, all these people times 15,000 years, and that is a lot of arrowheads. They're everywhere. You just have to find them, and how you do that is know how to look and what to look for. But I've just had so much fun looking for these things. I would suggest you getting out and doing the same. I'm Jeff Johnston. That's no BS. It's pretty tedious, you know, it's physical labor. Oh, I think I found something. Oh my gosh, I've got something, guys. Ancient man's weaponry. Now I think this came from the redneck era, back when Winchester Super X were popular, number 6s. No doubt some old guy killed a squirrel with this very shot. Bit of history there, fellas.